There we go, live.
Right. Good to go?
Good to go.
All right. Good evening. At this time, I'd like to call to order a planning and zoning meeting for the city of Lake City, 6th of June, 2023. If everyone will please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bow our heads, please. Lord, thank you for your many blessings. Bless our deliberations this day. Give us wisdom to make sound recommendations. We ask for these blessings in your name, Lord. Amen.
May be seated. Friends and folks on the board and everybody here, just to let y'all know, I'm serving as vice chair covering the meeting tonight. Mr. Leidick is down south a ways fighting fires. So if I misspeak, hopefully between Mr. Ken and Mr. Angelo, we'll catch it. And just know it's my first time. So appreciate that. Before we get the roll called, Mr. Angelo, would you like to introduce our newest member to the board?
Yes. Our newest member is Sylvester Warren, and is going to be serving on the Planning and Zoning Board, Board of Adjustments, and the Historic Preservation Board.
Excellent.
Anything you'd like to say?
No, excited to work with the board and hopefully we can accomplish some great things together and move the city forward in a very fast and proficient and efficient manner, and make sure that we follow the LDR.
Yes, sir. Excellent. Welcome. All right, Mr. Angelo, will you call roll?
Yes. Ms. McCullum? Here. Mr. Nelson?
Here.
Mr. Cooper?
Here.
Mr. McMahon?
Here.
Mr. Carter?
Present.
Mr. Leidick? Here. And Mr. Warren?
Present.
Okay. All right. The meeting minutes were distributed electronically. I trust everyone has had a chance to look these over. At this time, are there any additions or corrections to be made to the meeting for 5/2/23? No. All right. Do I have a motion to adopt minutes for 5/2/23?
Motion to adopt.
And second? All right. Mr. Nelson, Ms. Mary? All right. Okey doke. And let's see here. All in favor, hand vote. All opposed? All right, we've got minutes. Okay. First thing on the agenda is old business. I was not present at the last month's meeting, but I believe that this was continued. So I have a question. The old business is SPR 23-10, petition made by Carol Chadwick for Affiliate Property Management for a site plan review for Aspen Dental Group addition in the Commercial Intensive Zoning District located on parcel 07604-102, which is regulated by the Land Development Regulations, Section 413. Mr. Angelo, would you like to tell us about it?
All right, so I'll do a quick recap of the project so the board members remember where we're at, and then give an update on it. It is for a site plan review, and it's SPR 23-10, and it is for Aspire Dental. They are looking to add a addition on the side of the building. The problem with the site that we noticed at the last meeting is they were required to have 27 parking spaces. But they currently only have 8 paved parking spaces, and then they have a gravel section for some additional parking, but it doesn't count as far as parking is according to the LDR. And but they would have to get up to the 27. So we chose to have it continued to be able to look at the land development regulations, and we're working with North Florida Planning Council to have them update the LDR and the whole as far as the parking goes. Across the board, medical, dental, retail spaces, all that, updated to make it more, to the standards of today. And a lot of people doing, teledocs, stuff like that. So there's may not be as much of a need for parking. And talk to North Florida Planning Council, they, advise us, the way that it needs to go to get it done. It is gonna be a lot longer process than what we initially anticipated. I know we were thinking maybe like a 60 to 90 day, but it's probably looking like it's gonna be more a 4 to 6 month process. And because they have to get a lot of data from the state of Florida to be able to support the numbers. Because it's not just a text in there, it's got an actual number behind it. They've gotta have a number to be able to support that number. And they've gotta get that data from the state of Florida, and then that way it's consistent throughout the state. And that's where we're at currently.
Okay. I have a quick question.
I have questions.
The continuation from last month's meeting,
Mhm.
and this may be Mr. Kennon or Mr. Angela, is this continuation, is there a need to further continue it, or is it right on?
It'll ride on until we hear it again.
Mr. Chairman, can I say something, please, as it relates to this old business?
Sure.
Mr. Rob, I reviewed, and I just don't believe in holding up small business. I believe that small businesses are the engine of our economy. And I've reviewed the LDR, I think it's chapter 4, dot 12, section 12. If you look at your LDR, I think it's page 4-183, if I'm not mistaken.
4-82.
82. And in there, there's only one sentence.
Right.
Right, and do you recall what that sentence is?
I'd have to look it up for, but it basically requires one parking space for every 150 square feet of floor space.
Of floor space?
Yes.
But does it say where that additional parking has to be?
Correct.
It does not. And so therefore, it would be my opinion, board, that we have Mr. Kennon not go get us an opinion, but I would say that the interpretation of the LDR does not require for them to have specific additional parking space, but it can be that adjacent to them are other business parking spaces, and maybe they can get maybe an arrangement between those different adjacent businesses where there's plenty of other parking. I went and did a site visit around about 10:45. Dr. Randolph had about 17, 18 parking spaces available during that time period. The health facility had about 7 or 8. The CPA building down there, I think, Judge Johnson's husband had about 6 or 7. I took pictures if you want to see them. So there's like 30-some available parking spaces that's not being used, that maybe they can get some type of arrangement with those adjacent businesses and use those spaces, because it's not specifically defined in the LDR that you have to precisely use that land space that they own for additional parking. So I'm not against you doing what you're doing as far as getting with North Florida Regional, but I don't think that we should prolong a small business in this town from reaching its potential because some parking rule is not fully defined other than 150 square feet, one parking space. You go all over the world, you find people with additional parking space much further down the road where they park and walk. You got parking in the garage where people walk to different businesses. And so I think we gotta get out of the dinosaur age and be amendable to where the LDR is not specifically defined. I think that leans heavily in the favor of the applicant.
Right. And as far as that, that goes, it may be an option. I don't know what the legal ramification of that is and how that would work, as far as having a contract drawn up or how that would work. I know if you look at the whole area in a whole, even if the petitioner did that and got an agreement, that whole area, they would have to look at the total square footage of all the buildings and then count all the available parking and make sure there's adequate parking for all the square footage. And then, so you have to go look at all the buildings in a whole. Because if you're looking at the parking in a whole, you gotta look at all the buildings in a whole.
I respectfully disagree, because those folks that got those parking spaces have already been grandfathered in, right? And therefore, the only portion that we're looking at is accidental, and the only person that's asking for additional parking is accidental. And so they will only be piggybacking onto the additional spaces that the other adjacent businesses are not using. Let's just be a little bit more innovative and let's look into this particular concept and see whether or not we can get these folks moving a lot faster. I'm a small business owner. I know how important it is for folks to get moving, and sometimes government can slow them down. And I don't want this to be one of those things where we didn't use everything to our disposal to try to help this business get to where they're at in a much more rapid pace.
Right. No, I'm all for suggesting we can look into, what we need to do as a city. And, I'm open to, suggestions with it too. As long as we fit the requirements of the LDR, because that's what I go by. And that's what, at the end of the day, that's what the city goes by, with a lot of it. As long as we meet those,
But correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Brown, I don't mean to be out of turn, Mr. Chairman, but correct me if I'm wrong, in the LDR, it's just one sentence, correct? It does not define or specify where the parking has to be. It does not prohibit him from going and getting adjacent parking spaces from his neighboring businesses owners, does it? It does not prohibit in the LDR.
So I'd have to go back and look at the beginning of the LDR and the
Right.
definitions and all that under off-street parking.
Right.
And see what the requirements of the LDR are.
Right. And that
So
would
there
be
could be
number
some verbiage
17 or
in there.
18 on that list, and it's not there either.
Yeah, like I said, I just had to go back and verify that.
And
I don't know
one
what-
issue that's gonna come up is not if the grandfather is currently, if we mess with the grandfather, then we would have to hold it to the current standards.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
I would bet that all of those buildings are deficient in the
Right.
current LDR parking requirements, and we would have to go by the current LDR for each of those
Right.
buildings, off the top of my head, without doing research.
Yeah, and that's what I would think too, because if you're looking at the parking holistically and you're looking at then you gotta look at the total square footage of the area. Even if the one business, if they're looking at it totally, that may affect all the businesses in the area to where they've got to all update their parking.
Okay.
Because-
I'm good with that. I mean, we got the attorney, that's what we got him on payroll for. Let's explore the options. Let's look at it and see. I mean,
We'll definitely explore it.
I don't think it hurts anything. I think that, we may have found something that's very creative that we may can help this business. I prefer to look at every option to be pro-business than to seem or come across as anti-business.
Great. Any other questions?
Okey dokey. Moving on to new business. We're looking at SPR 23-11, petition submitted by Logan Peters, PE, for the U-Haul Company of Florida owner, for a site plan review for U-Haul at Gateway Crossing Lot 6 in the Commercial Highway Interchange Zoning District and located on parcel 02524-006, which is regulated by the Land Development Regulations, Section 415. Mr. Angelo, would you like to tell us a little bit about this?
All right, this is for U-Haul at Gateway Crossings. It's SPR 23-11, and it is on parcel number 02524-006. Lot 6 is the lot that it is on Centurion Court, and they are wanting to do a site plan review for a new U-Haul structure, what will be a climate-controlled facility, and they're, according to their transportation, or their the transportation, how many trips per hour and all that, they're gonna have 207 trips per day, which averages out to about 8.62 trips per hour, and throughout the 24-hour period. And the bulk of that, of course, would be, through one area. The city staff has looked at this, that, it all meets the LDR requirements, and it will cause, a little bit more traffic on Centurion Court, which is already congested, somewhat, and but they do have their traffic study in there.
Thank you, Mr. Angelo. At this time, would a proponent for SPR 2311 like to speak on behalf of this petition? Logan Peter?
Oh, he's the petition.
Sir, please raise your right hand. Do you Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to the best of your abilities?
I do.
Thank you. Please, your name and address for Mr. Angelo.
Yes, my name is Christopher Potts. I'm the Director of Engineering for JB Pro, stepping in for Logan. Address is 3550 Northwest 43rd Street, Gainesville, Florida. Just here to answer any questions the board may have. As Mr. Angelo already mentioned, you know, we've gone through the review process. This is I think there's one other vacant lot in this area in Gateway Crossings. And they're just looking forward to getting started as soon as they can.
Any questions from the board?
I did a site visit. I like site visits. It kind of gives you a holistic picture of what's going on. And I know there's going to be something that's going to be coming back before the board soon about an appeal based on traffic study and congestion of that area. And your traffic count does not include the traffic count of the True Hotel, the new restaurants that's going out there and everything else, or the Circle K, correct? That's just what traffic that the U-Haul facility will be bringing on that particular street down at the cul-de-sac, correct?
That's correct. But it also took into account the capacity of the roadway.
And what about the ingress and egress of driving in and driving out? Y'all plan on it? No, I'm talking about on the cul-de-sac.
Yes, so that was evaluated as far as turning movements, you know, for the ability for traffic circulation at the roundabout or the cul-de-sac.
Thank you. Okay, thanks, sir.
Thank you.
At this time, would anyone else like to speak for or against this petition? Okay.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Have all the city departments signed off on this yet? It doesn't appear to. They don't appear to.
Yeah, I was about to say, according to the project summary, it looks like all relevant agencies. Is there anybody that
Public Works?
should have looked at this that hasn't, Mr. Angelo?
What's that? The only one that's not on here is the Public Works, and which is also Steve Brown is the interim director of that one.
Hey, Mr. Brown, would you like to chat with us a minute?
This one, the stormwater plan that they put together didn't affect anything in the area. In fact, there was one area that there was an easement on the side there that they had requested to turn back to them. Other than that, we didn't have any issues. We looked at it through gas, water, sewer. Utility side, everything appeared to be fine on it.
So no heartburn for y'all.
No, the only thing that we did question was the traffic as well. That when they turned their study in, we just thought the numbers, when you combined them, were going to be an issue. But really, other than Mr. Warren talking about the petition that may come back for another review, we didn't have any concern other than that.
Okay. All right, any more discussion among the board? Okay. Do I have a motion to adopt or disapprove petition SPR 23-11?
I make a motion to adopt SPR 23-11.
Second.
All right. We've got a motion and a second. Mr. Angelo, will you call roll?
Yes. Ms. McCollum?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Mann?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
And Mr. Warren?
Yes.
All right. There you go. And you don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting. Sometimes we don't tell folks that, but thank you for coming in Mr. Peter's stead. Appreciate you. Okey dokey, moving on. We have one last thing of new business. That is a workshop discussion about the board's financial disclosure presented by our counselor, Mr. Todd Kennon.
Yeah, we put this on, Mr. Leidick wanted it on, I think primarily as a reminder to everybody, that everybody that was sitting on the board as of December 30th, 2022. You're gonna get this form from Supervisor of Elections, Form 1 Financial Disclosures. With that notice, you're gonna have an instruction sheet that goes through each of the different sections that you're required to complete. And then when you open up the pamphlet, you're given two choices on how you determine whether an interest you have in a business or real property is determined either a straight dollar amount or a percentage amount. And it goes through how you calculate those. Essentially, most people will have their primary source of income, and you do not have to, if I read it right here, you do not have to list your residence, so unless you have other properties, rentals, et cetera. Most of that form, you probably won't, you need to put not applicable, according to the statute. But just as a reminder, that is coming out. You'll also receive a yellow sheet, and on there, if you have additional questions, you can go to www.ethics.state.fl.us, and they can help you then fill it out. The forms have to be turned in on or before July 3rd to Ms. Brown, Columbia County Supervisor of Elections, and her information is on the additional handout you receive when you see Form 1. And Mr. Leidig wanted me to briefly go over the statutes. We are required, as board members and myself as the attorney to complete these. The statute essentially mirrors exactly what the handouts are. They've done a good job of taking this many pages and putting it into 3. It's a lot easier to read than all of this. But there are fines and penalties if you do not turn it in. I want to say it's after, I want to say September. It's $25 per day for every day you're delinquent, up to a maximum of $1,500. So to get you monetarily, the state will come and get you. In addition, there are other penalties and repercussions for not completing it. Members of this board are determined to be public officers as defined by another 10 pages of statute. And in the case of a public officer, if they find that you willfully refuse to provide your disclosures as required by law, you can be impeached, removal from office, suspension from office, public censure and reprimand, forfeiture of no more than 1/3 of his or her salary. That's gonna hit y'all really hard. Just be aware. And civil penalty not to exceed $10,000. So essentially, the teeth in the financial disclosure is your pocket. So Mr. Leidig wanted you to just touch on that as much as a reminder as to what happens if you don't do it.
Quick question, I just filled mine out this afternoon. That's just to be turned into the supervisor of elections office.
That's right.
Okay. We can walk it down there.
Yes, that's the information's on this sheet here. Just take it back down, make sure I would get the name of the person you gave it to, and time and date. That way you got a little coverage there. But just a reminder.
Thank you, Mr. Kent.
And if we're gonna get those,
You should already have yours. Are you on the board December 30th?
yes, but I don't have that.
I got mine in the mail last
Me
week.
too. You got your, already turned it in? Okay, so, I got a lot better. I would double check with, Ms. Brown's office. They may have incorrectly put in your address. They all came in the mail, so they may have a different address, whether they've changed or not. But out of an abundance of caution, I would go down and essentially you just need to tell her you need a Form 1 that you're on the P&Z board, and you need to make your financial disclosure, they'll give you the time.
Questions, Mr. Kennon, in this disclosure, they're just asking for your personal?
Yes, sir, and it's a little different than a lot of other disclosures. For instance, if you have a liability, one of the categories of your liabilities, if they exceed $10,000, you don't put, I owe Bank of America $13,998 and whatever cent as of December 30th. If you have a liability that exceeds the threshold, then you just list the name and address of the creditor. And then you have a slot here for your primary sources of income, and then your secondary sources of income. You have trust funds, regular IRA type distributions, or if you're in a business, and you have to go through it, because if the business pays you more than 5% of the total income, or you own more than 5%, you have to list those sources of your income.
To be clear, not the income, the sources. Not the income, but the sources.
Yeah. They don't
That's
want-
correct. They want the name of source of income, the source's address, and description of the source's principal business activity. So mine would be Robinson, Kennan and Kindred, source's address, I put our physical address in, description of the source's principal business activity, attorneys.
So they don't want dollar amount, they just want to know the source.
Yeah, and the dollar amount comes in when you read the handout that goes with it.
Mm.
The dollar amount comes in when it tells you if you are part of a business. There's an area for specified businesses, and it lists those specified businesses. So if you own 6% of Millennium Bank, you would have to disclose as a participant in the secondary business, Millennium Bank, address, and the type of institution they are. But they're not asking, they're not gonna go through and request in the form the actual dollar amounts. They just want to identify where the source of either the income or the debt is. Generally, the purpose is just so they have, I think, so they have of record, what public officials, officers, what type of businesses are involved in.
Cases where they need to recuse themselves.
Well, that and, identify, I'm guessing, I don't know why they have specified businesses, I couldn't find anything in the statute as to why they limited banks, credit unions, railroad companies, I think is one of them, but
Is there a referee at the, election office? So when we turn this in, is there someone there to say, yeah, this is complete and correct?
no, they will forward it to the Secretary of State, and they'll have, and then if they find it incomplete, probably a nasty gram saying do an addendum, or it fill out this section. So that's why I said, if you look at the statute, it says that even if you have no business interest, don't own any property, and you get one paycheck, you still have to put down your name, the city you're participating in, the name of the agency, City of Lake City Planning and Zoning Board, the position you held for a member, and then you put your source of income, and the statute recommends that if none of the other categories are applicable, to put not applicable, so it's obvious you did not skip over that.
And to be clear, this is pretty standard operating procedure for all elected officials and public
Yeah,
board
they have,
members and
they have
everything.
to do it every year.
And Mr. Cannon, in I don't know whether this would be unique cases or not, what if a person does not know all of what they own and what they have? Some people have blind trust, some people have different holding and different assets that they are part of but not control of or don't control. And what do you do in a situation like that?
The only advice I can give someone in filling this out is put as much as you know for a fact, and if they find it deficient, it'll be handled through the ethics department in Tallahassee.
So that's your
It's not
recommendation?
handled locally, it's handled through the ethics department, the state of Florida Ethics Commission. If they find that there's a deficiency, and then you get into, was it inadvertent, willful, knowingly, and those are the two main kind of alarms that they determine that it was not filled out completely or accurately.
Yeah, I just want to be careful. I mean, I'm just one person that's dealing with a whole lot from a whole lot of people, and so I got different things that I don't control, that I don't know specifically what all I own and don't own, and what all assets I do have and don't have. And I don't want this process to be one of those situations where this can try to be used to undermine or set aside me on the board.
And that is handled, again, through the Ethics Commission in Tallahassee. If I was new to a position like this, and new, like you, Sylvester, going in, that you're gonna fill one out next year, because you were not on the board December.
So I don't have to fill one out to next year?
Right, because you were not on the board.
Okay, so I have time to get with the attorneys and the CPAs,
So my
okay, okay.
recommendation would be to get you a little flip notebook.
Yeah, I'm like,
And then-
you said July the 3rd, I'm like, there ain't no way in the world I can.
Yeah, and, we can get, you get one of the supervisor elections, we can get Dee to make you a copy, and it'll show you what you need to just be looking out for the year.
Yeah, we're still working through renaming some trustees and some trusts and stuff we got, and so I honestly don't know what all we have.
Yeah,
So I don't want to make
I would
no
recommend go down, get the packet, and then you have it, and then you can make yourself a checklist as you go through the year.
So if you
Like I
were,
say, mine's easy, because I got one source of income, own part of a building, and that's it.
so you have to complete this now if you're on the board in December.
That's correct.
Okay.
So even if you were off the board in February of 2023, you still have to complete it. It's almost like taxes, it's for the preceding calendar year.
And just, Mr. Warren as well, the packet that he said, it comes with the thing that you have to fill out, which is pretty straightforward, front and back. And then it comes with a booklet with a solid paragraph or two about every section. So a lot of the detailed questions, I think, are answered in there. And then just curious, is there a department that you, for the sake of some of the questions he was asking that are rather specific,
Secretary of State.
so there's probably someone you can call and ask these questions?
Well, that and when you get the packet, where you're gonna start, and heaven help you in Tallahassee.
Sure.
www.ethics.state.fl.us. And hopefully somebody would respond to it.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other
So
discussion?
if you, Mr. Not
Warren?
no,
Yes.
McMahon.
McMahon, there you go.
Yes.
If the two of you were not on the board,
I was.
or you were
So
on
was
the
I.
board in December, then you were,
I've been on for a year.
okay.
My only complaint with the form is I wish it was electronic. I wish you could share that as a
Well,
PDF or a Word document.
As of January 1 of 2024, the Ethics Commission will have set up an electronic filing portal. And all of them will be filed electronically beginning 1/1/24.
Okay.
That's in the statute.
Good.
Is there any more discussion among the board? Okay. Unless I'm mistaken, I believe we reached the end of planning and zoning. Do I have a motion for adjournment? Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed? All right, we got a planning and zoning meeting. Okey-dokey. Now, for the reason I reckon the rest of y'all are here, I would like to now call to order the Historic Preservation Agency meeting, City of Lake City for June 6, 2023. We got the roll call. Once again, the meeting minutes were distributed electronically. I hope everyone has had a chance to review them. At this time, are there any additions or corrections to the minutes submitted for last month's meeting? No?
Move to approve minutes from the May 2nd meeting.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor say. All opposed? Okey dokey. Old business, we're looking at a consent agenda I 23-16 submitted by Lake City, Columbia County, or Lake City, Columbia City History Museum. Owner requests a certificate of appropriateness in the in a residential office zoning district as established in section 410-1 of the Land Development Regulation and located within the viewshed of the Lake DeSoto Historic District established in section 1011-2 of the Land Development Regulations on property described as City of Lake City, parcel 12739-000. Mr. Angelo, would you like to tell us about this?
All right, this is for COA 23-16. It was continued from the May historic meeting, and then we didn't have enough of a quorum to be able to do the consent agenda on this item. And so it was part of the consent agenda, so we're still hearing it as a consent agenda, but just in the old business.
Okay.
And so it is for 157 Southeast Hernando Ave, Lake City Avenue, or Lake City, Florida. And they're looking to replace the existing sign that is there, which you'll see the pictures in the packet. And that what they basically just updating it, refacing it, repainting it, and making it look new again. And that the color that they chose is going to match the trim that is on the exterior of the building. And so it'll be very consistent with the building that is there.
Okay. Has this work already been done?
No, it has not been done yet.
I just have one comment. On the old business on the agenda, it should be Lake City, Columbia County. So
Columbia County,
it says
okay.
Lake City, Columbia City.
Okay.
It's just a typo.
Note that line is hard to read. Okey-dokey.
Any other questions from the board?
Just, well, again, my ignorance, this being moved and being consent agenda items, sometimes consent agenda items are voted and approved en masse, and other times not. Is this something that needs a vote to approve?
I would suggest go ahead and do a vote on it because it's in the whole business.
Okay.
And then we'll do the consent agenda separately.
Before we take a vote, Mr. Chairman, I need to defer to the attorney for a second, if you would, before I.
Sure.
Mr. Cannon, I have received numerous of calls, and I have a public records request in to Ms. Sykes, and I believe it would be at this juncture a conflict of interest for me to vote on anything dealing with the Historic Preservation Agency because of that email questioning the completion of work that was supposedly required from North Florida Regional Council as to whether or not there is an actual historical preservation agency, district, and et cetera, based on some information that is out there from planning and zoning of North Florida.
Well, currently, the city has recognized the
You would-
boundaries for the Lake City Historic Commercial District. There's two categories, Lake Isabella Historic Residential District. There's a map of that together with its view shed, and then the Lake DeSoto District and together with its view shed. So those maps have been utilized and accepted by this board for how many years?
Has it been, I know there was some language out from North Florida Regional Council as to whether or not the board met certain requirements to legitimately be a historical preservation board. Do you know whether or not those inquiries have been met?
I have not researched that, but there's nothing to indicate that this board is not properly consistent. Or
Based on what? Based on what?
Based on the LDRs.
Based on the LDRs, but not based on any information that I'm questioning based on North Florida Regional Council.
You have to ask them. I mean, if you want to abstain because of a stated conflict, that's fine. But my opinion is that this board can proceed.
No, I don't have a problem. I mean,
Apply the LDRs to the two maps that I just described that are in existence.
okay, I'm gonna abstain, and I'm gonna ask that the board and myself, direct, council, and staff to get with, North Florida Regional Council, to see whether or not we're acting according to North Florida Regional Council's request, and have we done everything we're supposed to do. I want to make sure that we're doing things right. I have no problem with the Historical Preservation Agency. I just want to make sure that we're operating in accordance to North Florida Regional Council, because that's who we answer to.
I'll get with staff and we'll make that inquiry. But I believe we can proceed on the applications for appropriateness.
And that's your opinion, right?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo,
Yes.
I apologize for my potential ignorance on this, but I have no idea what he's referring to. Do you have any idea?
So in the North Florida Planning Council and the LDR, there are certain steps that you have to do to adopt a district, and if you want to adopt a local district. And I know there's local districts and there's actually nationally recognized districts. And so I'm assuming what you're assuming too is whether the locally adopted districts, there are certain requirements that, the areas have to be noticed to the petitioners or to the citizens in the area. You have to have a 2/3 vote from them, or a petition with 2/3 of the citizens basically agreeing to the historic area. And we can research that and make sure all that was done and to 100%, and then make sure everything is in where it is. But to my knowledge at this point, the board is where it needs to be.
Okay. Do you see any reason why we should not move forward with these petitions as laid out?
As Mr. Kennan just said.
Mr. Kennan, he can render an opinion.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we move forward.
All right.
Okay. Thank you. So one question about this, COA 2316, in this case being a consent, do I need a representative here to speak on this in order to approve it? Okay.
Not on consent agenda, only on
So-
one that we're hearing.
Okay. So on consent agenda, item 23-16, looking to update their sign, do I have a motion to approve or disapprove COA 2316?
Move to approve COA 23-16.
Do I have a second? Are we thinking, or is no one interested in providing a second?
I've got to abstain from this one again, since I'm on the board.
Oh, yes. Another question here, once again,
Give us a form.
I was about to ask.
So trying to do the math.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna ask.
So we would
Okay.
have to continue this one.
Correct, this one would have to be continued because you only have 3 members, you need 4 for a quorum.
Okay. And do I need a motion and approval by the board to continue this?
No, it's already continued.
Okay.
And so we continue it to the next one when we have a quorum.
Okey dokey. Well, moving on to new business. Consent agenda item 2319, submitted by Robert Ogles as agent requesting a certificate of appropriateness in residential office zoning district as established in section 410 of the Land Development Regulations and located within the view shed of the Lake DeSoto Historic District, established in section 1011-2 of the Land Development Regulation on property described as City of Lake City parcel 13835-000. Mr. Angelo, would you like to tell us a little bit about this?
Yes. All right, so this one is for COA 23-19, submitted by Robert Ogles, which is the agent. And they are looking to replace the existing shingle roof with a new metal roof. It'll be a Galvalume color. And if you look at some of the pictures in the packet, there are some buildings in there that already have that same Galvalume material on it. Even right across the street, which is North Florida Pharmacy, it has the same Galvalume metal already on the, so it is consistent with the neighborhood.
Thank you, Mr. Angelo. Is there anyone here who'd like to speak on behalf?
If you need, yeah.
Do you, sorry, excuse me. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, to the best of your ability?
Yes.
Please name and address of record for Mr. Angelo.
Okay, Robert Ogles, 505 Gold Kist Boulevard, Live Oak, Florida, 32064. What was the other thing you need?
Just your name and address.
Okay, that's it, right?
Yes, sir. Okay,
And yeah, not that I needed to say anything, but if you have questions, I guess. But like he had said, and I think I emailed some pictures. So the house that we're gonna do directly next to it on the same side of the road to the south is the same style and color. And then to the north of it, 2 houses over, is the same style, just a separate color. And then you have North Florida Pharmacy. So these people, their insurance is gonna be canceling, they need a roof. Sure. So that's what we're here to do, and they'd like to go with metal.
gotcha. Well, obviously, this is something that we see pretty often,
Yeah.
pretty straightforward stuff. We like to see more metal in the historic district anyhow. Just checking real quick without Mr. Rydick and Mr. Cooper here, do we have a quorum? Still?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. Yes, sir.
Sit down.
Yes, sir, absolutely, thank you. Is anyone else here who'd like to speak on COA 23-19? Okay. Public comment is closed. Any discussion among the board? Okay. All right, do I have a motion to approve or disapprove?
Mr. Warren, we need, if you're gonna abstain again, we just need you to announce something. Right?
Oh, okay.
So,
Yes, I'm abstaining.
Okay. Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve or disapprove COA 23-19? Motion, do I have a second? Second. All right, motion and a second. Mr. Angelo, will you call roll?
Mr. McCollum? Yes. Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Mann?
Yes.
And Mr. Carter?
Yes. All right. COA 23-19 is approved.
Thank you all very much.
All right. Moving on, consent agenda, COA 23-17 submitted by Beverly Romine. Owner requests a certificate of appropriateness and a residential single-family 3 zoning district is established in section 4-7 of the Land Development Regulation and located within the viewshed of the Lake Isabella Historic District, established in section 10-11-2 of the Land Development Regulation on property described as City of Lake City parcel 113-284-000. Mr. Angelo, would you like to tell us a bit about that?
All right, so this one is COA 23-17. It is for 258 Southeast St. John Street, and submitted by Beverly Romine. They are looking to install a chain link fence right along their neighbor's fence. The neighbor's fence, if you see in the pictures, is kind of fallen down. So they want to put it basically running right along the side of that, and then to put up a new chain link fence to kind of bring their property back up to where it needs to be.
Okay.
All right.
Sure. Thank you. Would anyone like to speak on COA 23-17? Public comment is closed. Any discussion among the board? Okay. All right, before I ask for a approval or disapproval, Mr. Warren, you abstain?
Yes, I abstain.
Thank you. Do I have an approval or disapproval motion for COA 23-17?
Move to approve COA 23-17.
There's a motion and a second. Mr. Angelo, would you call roll?
Ms. McCollum? Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Mann?
Yes.
And Mr. Carter?
Yes. All right, moving right along. I see nothing in the workshops. Mr. Kennon, Mr. Angelo, is there anything else we need to cover tonight? All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Hold.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is it possible to speak to the board?
Sure.
Planning zoning board or the historic?
Yes, that's good.
Planning board.
The planning board's already closed out.
Yeah, it's already closed.
Well, let's talk about informal talk,
Okay.
okay? Is that possible?
If it's not on the agenda, I would not recommend it. If there's a question, it would need to go through administration as far as the process.
I would recommend visiting Mr. Angelo at his office.
Mr. Chairman, I don't mean to be out of place, but I think he's a citizen. We're here. We volunteer at the leisure of the people. I mean, we're not gonna take any action potentially. We just kind of want to hear what his comments are, what his concerns are, and then from there, know how to direct him. But to ignore him while he's present, I think that sends a bad message.
My recommendation is for him to give Mr. Angelo
That's-
after the meeting, so because we have, number one, an agenda we have to follow, and number two, that meeting is closed, and so the only official business this board should consider would be, at this point, an historical issue.
Are you saying it's my fault I didn't put my hand up?
Well, no, this one's a little different than the council meeting. It's-
I guess what excuse me, I guess what I'm saying, can we close out, Mr. Attorney, in your opinion, can we close out the meeting and then still hear what he has to say if we end the meeting adjourned, if the
During
board?
the meeting, then it's not anything official, and whoever would want to stay to listen could do so.
Right, I just want him to be heard out. I'm not saying we're gonna take any form of action, but.
To be clear, I don't know if you heard me in the beginning, I've never run one of these before, it's my first time. I don't wanna make a mistake, and, so I'm just gonna listen to legal counsel, and we'll move on with adjournment, but of course, we're in a room full of people, and I'm sure we can
Yes.
speak.
I greatly appreciate being able to speak to y'all if you're at the board.
Okay, returning back to the Historic Preservation Agency, do I have a motion to adjourn? I think I already had a motion in a second. All in favor? All opposed? All right, we've got our meetings.
All right, come on up, sir.
Thank you, friends.
I've got 6:30, I've got a catch, so. Robert, let me know if I need to do it.
Oh, what is